tip.
Good afternoon. It is July 24th, 2019. You're listening to a little column A, a little column B, hosted by William Nelson, co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How you doing today, buddy?
What is going on today, Will? Past podcasts, I've been coming up with some sort of story, some sort of weird in the news article I could find. Today, going a different direction because we're 2 weeks away from Hard Knocks coming out, and Hard Knocks is really, to me, the official kickoff of football. You know, we're not at the kickoff, but even before kickoff, there's some pregame. So I think that we are in the realm. Like, we can start talking about football without it being ridiculous. We got 1 week left of July. We were talking about football a little bit on Sunday, and more on kind of the fantasy-related parts of it. And just wondering if you had a couple of your favorite parts about fantasy football and what you're looking to most in the past month and in a couple of weeks coming up.
Well, the draft day is the most fun thing. Fantasy and football go hand in hand. I don't know. Do you know anyone who actually watches football and doesn't play fantasy?
Nobody young.
Nobody young. Okay, so I think that's a fair. So I'll say anybody who's under a certain age, you're really only watching football for fantasy unless you're a super fan of a particular team. But even then, I think most people are really valuing their fantasy teams much more than their actual teams. Is that a fair assumption?
I think that could be the case for some people, depending on how good your team is in that current year.
Well, either way, I think me being in that boat of, and I'm assuming is the majority of people, I'm most looking forward to the draft. The draft is the most fun part. You get to set your lineups and you get everything kind of in line. You never really know what's going to go on. I like that our league we're in right now has a couple trades here and there. You're able to trade draft picks. Once we know the keepers ahead of time, I like that part. And not that the regular season isn't fun, but I like that part because that's really the beginning. And I like that you have kind of the control. Kind of play a GM mastermind here. And I would say I'm most looking forward to that. Now, with that being said, the next couple of months, the top priority is going to be who's going to get hurt in the preseason, because that happens every year. Someone does that. Who's going to hold out, because apparently that's a thing that happens frequently now. Who's going to be the Le'Veon Bell of this year? Is that going to be Melvin Gordon? And as well as who's going to be the big stud? Which guy's going to look good in preseason and be like, oh, no, this guy's going to be a starting quarterback. May not draft him first, but maybe that backup quarterback position will free up. Those are the type of things I'm looking forward to. What are you looking forward to?
Definitely draft day. Great. It's a great day because it can really make or break your whole year. Definitely moves you can make along the way, but football, you're pretty locked in. Not the same as basketball. I think you make some more moves in basketball. You can make trades, you can make some moves, but you're pretty much what you do on draft day is what it's going to decide how many happy Sundays you have and how many sad Sundays you have. But I'm going more like a little like the smaller parts of a fantasy, and just as it's getting closer and just starting to think about stuff. It's the first games ended, the second games are starting nap that happens. You're out on Saturday night, you're probably up late watching college football, having maybe a couple of adult beverages. You wake up the next morning, maybe a little later. Oh, sweet football! You watch the first games, and then you're like, you know what? Comfortable on the couch right now? Yeah, I could use a little nap, and maybe you kind of sleep through the first half of the late games. You wake up, oh, sweet. Missed halftime, start of the third quarter. All right, let's do this again. Oh, how's the fantasy team doing? Okay, cool. On the road to victory.
So you're looking for a basically socially acceptable reason to take a nap. You could do that kind of any day you want.
I think naps are always acceptable. I just think this is a specific type of nap that if you play fantasy football, you know what it is.
No, I get that. But that's also just the layout of the way the games are like kind of structured. It's set up a specific way where you are gonna be less entertained because there's like 10 games in the opening like 10 o'clock slot for me, which is the 1 o'clock slot for the East Coasters. And then what is it, like 2 games, 3 games after that? At 4 games?
It switches by week.
I think I don't know. That's what it is. I don't think you're actually tired. I think you're just not as entertained. Generally, they're not. I think the games aren't as good either. Wild assumptions. I'm
Yeah, I mean,
desperate
it
for it.
depends. It depends on the week. I think just based on the math, that's probably accurate. Like you said, if you have 10 games versus 4 games, it just makes sense that some would be more interesting than the others. And like you said about the fantasy portion of it, you're more likely to have more fantasy guys going. You're more likely to be going against more guys having fantasy going, so it's a little more exciting. I don't know why they don't try to even it out more. I think that would make more sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure the real reason behind that either. I just know, as being a huge red zone guy, red zone in the prime time of the opening games, coming to the fourth quarter, greatest feeling in the world. I'm looking forward to that. That's also another feeling. Is like you have, 6 close games are all about to end right now. Chances are,
Just bopping all over the place. Do.
you have those weeks where you're doing absolutely awful. Your team is struggling. You have no touchdowns. There's 5 minutes left in all of the games left, and you're about to be like, oh, my day is over, and it's so early. I have zero chance at winning. And then the next thing you know, overtime comes, game-winning touchdowns come, garbage time touchdowns come, and now
Garbage time touchdowns.
your entire fantasy day has just flipped the switch out of the last closing 5 minutes of the first set of games. I can't wait for that. Is it too early to do this though? I think these are all things that people are immediately relating to, but they don't need to be told about this. I think they're all. If you're a football fan and a fantasy fan, you're already thinking all this. You know this. You don't need to hear this in a podcast.
I just think it's just it's getting the juices flowing. There's been a lot of times when kind of football's kind of peeked its head a little bit, and it's like nope, not yet. All right, NBA finals haven't even ended yet. Okay, gotta for sure draft. Gotta be after the draft. Gotta be after summer league. I'd like to wait till at least August, but it's like we only got a week left. Like I said, 2 weeks till Hard Knocks. That's like what I really feel is the kickoff, and just give everybody a little taste. Like it's right around the corner. This is the dog days of summer are here. There's barely baseball on, and that's it. That's all we got. The Open was last week. There's a bunch of sports websites that are saying this is the most boring week on the sports calendar right now. So I'm just trying to spice it up. Let you guys know, hey, it's not too far away. The future is going to look a little brighter than it does today.
Shout out to the WNBA All-Star Game this Saturday. Nobody's going to watch it, but if you're desperate, I think that's your solution there.
You might need something to tide you over.
Yeah, so that I think that's Saturday. I wish I had a start time to let everyone know. I don't even know what channel that'll be on. I'm probably ESPN, right? I don't think that's getting nationally televised. That's not getting like an ABC, CBS slot.
I'd imagine that's ESPN.
All right, so check that on ESPN. That's coming up. Actually, while we're on the topic of let's do some more basketball talk here. You want to talk some FIBA basketball?
Let's talk some FIBA basketball. What is going on? Why does no one want to play?
I mean that's a great question. Why would you want to
hear
play?
The list?
Yeah, could you give me a reason of who's in and who's out, and what are kind of the problems here?
So far, these are the players that have decided that they do not want to play. Just today, Kevin Love joins Anthony Davis, James Harden, Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, Bradley Beal, Eric Gordon, Tobias Harris, and C.J. McCollum.
Do you know who is participating? And those are the ones that announced that do not want to play. I mean, you don't have to.
Those are the ones that don't want to play. I can give you the list of the ones that do want to play.
All right, who does want to play? Because
this is still at training camp. So I'm gonna go through the list, and you're gonna think in your head like this is kind of a long list. They're still gonna go through tryouts and cut guys. So, but here's the list. This is for the USA team, of course. Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown, Andre Drummond, Kyle Kuzma, Brooke Lopez, Kyle Lowry, Chris Middleton, Paul Millsap, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, PJ Tucker, Miles Turner, Kemba Walker, and Thaddeus Young.
All right, now if you were to take those two groups and they played each other, which group do you think would win?
Oh, the first group. First group's got a bunch of all-stars on it. The second group has kind of a mismatch of people. Some all-stars, but not the elite guys.
Okay, now, do you still think – I agree with that the first group is better, but I think that second group is still significantly better than most international groups, that they would still do very well, confidently. Do you not feel as confident about that?
I would feel more confident with guys from the first group, but
I don't think we need it.
Getting a little bit better every year, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if having a step below is better because these guys are going to be hungrier, or if this is we got to be careful if we don't bring the best of the best to these matches, and because we're going to we're gonna get tripped up.
Well, was the rest of the world getting their guys? Like, what are the other teams? Like, if the other teams do get one guy that doesn't play for them, they're done. And then the Gasol guys in Spain, like, they're old now. I feel like a lot of the international guys in the league are generally a little bit older or really young. And, like, nobody's in, like, their prime right now. Like, all the guys in the first group you mentioned are kind of in their prime or well established. I mean, what international guys are in their prime and pretty established right now? I mean, Luka's young. Giannis is still pretty young. I mean, I don't think is Giannis in his prime? I mean, that's a debate right there. I don't think he is. I think he still gets a little bit better.
You think he's gonna make a jump?
I think he makes a jump. I mean, he made a jump last year. I just think he makes it a little bit more of a finessed, kind of polished off jump this year, where it's like, all right, now this is kind of the more finished product. Whereas last year you saw what the finished product could look like. I think this year it gets a little cleaned up, a little more polished. That jump shot looks a little bit better. I saw him practicing with Kyle Korver. He knows what he's doing now. I think he gets one more jump. But either way, if one of these guys, any of these international guys, if they don't show up, their team's immediately done. Versus our guys don't show up, I still think we have a pretty good shot.
Which I think means that they are more likely to actually play, as well as some of these teams, and this has happened to us in the past, they've been playing together for a while. Our guys are all new together, trying to figure out the chemistry. Does this work? Does this not work? But basketball, it's a lot of chemistry. If you know where a guy's going to be before even he kind of knows where he's going to be, well, it's going to work a lot better than even if you have more talent of just figuring things out chemistry-wise.
All right, well, I'll answer that one too. Who's coaching our team?
Popovich.
All right, and who's coaching teams? Oh, not a Popovich guy. Okay, yeah, I think we.
Not Popovich.
I think we can edge that margin to us too. We can check the box for US on that one.
Did I mention that his assistants are Steve Kerr and Jay Wright?
No. I mean, also
both,
two fantastic
both who
coaches.
have won multiple championships in their field in the past few years. I mean, a little more than a few years.
And by the way, if you're Popovich, do you want the first list or the second list? He wants the second list. No way. Give me the guys that are going to play hard, that want something to prove, that are going to give me everything they got, you don't want the first group. I don't think they're the right fit right now. At least for a Popovich system that's going to run temporarily.
Little Homer comment. When some of these guys fell through, one of the guys that got added was Marcus Smart, so he wasn't going to be on the team. And I saw some Celtics Twitter personalities tweeting just all stuff along the lines of, "Oh, so FIBA training camp just went up a notch in intensity." I can't imagine Marcus Smart not taking that seriously, regardless of, oh, this is practice for exhibition, like a world exhibition. I don't think that's going to really translate to him. He's still going to be going balls to the wall, out of his mind, and if you're not ready for that, you're in trouble.
Well, don't you think that he wants every chance he can to be on the right platform to look good in front of the right people? Like, also, if you're any of these guys, even if you're in the first group or the second group, doesn't a part of you want to kind of impress Popovich? Like, don't you want to go all in?
I would think so.
Like, that has to be something of value, I would imagine. Like, if I can play well for arguably the greatest coach within basketball, possibly of all time, I think that's a win for you personally, and then a win for whatever franchise you're with back home in the regular season. Like, hey, I was one of the better guys on a Popovich roster. That means I'm pretty good, and that should translate to almost any other team. So I would
assume that it would translate. Right. Especially how long he's been coach. He's probably been coaching the Spurs longer than some of these guys have been alive. At the very least, they only know him as the Spurs coach.
Yeah. So are you hitting the panic button on this or not? It's a lot of names on there. There's definitely a lot of people that are opting out, but I still like kind of what we're left with. I think it's even more exciting. As well as I'd rather see a team that's going to go out there and play hard than a team that's just. I don't need to see step back threes from Harden and Westbrook and whoever else doing crazy things that nobody else in the world can even compete with. I'd rather the more team-oriented, let's prove something basketball.
I'm interested to see how the roster shakes out. I am interested how there are 4 Celtics at training camp and wondering if there's any sort of bonding that can happen before the actual season starts with Kemba, if that can help at all.
You got to be really scared of is the recruiting right now. I know there's four of us. You would hope they would recruit people to Boston, but if you look back the past couple of years, a lot of guys going elsewhere. Nobody really coming to us. So, keep Tatum's ears earmuffed. Right, he doesn't get to talk to anybody. Right, unless he's on the court and talking to those other three guys that are currently Boston Celtics. That's it. I'd rather him play for an international team at this point. He just can't understand the language of anyone else. You keep out of his ears. Actually, you know what? Speaking of some young NBA talent right now, Zion Williamson has announced a huge shoe deal with the Jordan brand. Now, I've seen multiple reports specifically saying the Jordan brand and not the Nike brand. But last time I checked, is that not the same thing?
It's a little tricky. Obviously, Jordan is part of Nike, but Jordan brand is a separate brand. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of confusing.
So, so in theory, right now, are you saying that he turned down a Nike deal and accepted a Jordan deal? Like, does that make any sense? Because that's kind of what I was thinking.
I guess you could sort of say that it's I don't. It's just a different branch. Obviously, yeah. Michael Jordan has more to do with it than just the general Nike. Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul or Jordan brand. It's more of it's got the Jumpman logo rather than the swoosh. I mean, for sure there is going to be the swoosh, but it prominently features the Jumpman logo, so you'll know.
I didn't see one headline that said Zion signs with Nike. It's a Jordan brand across every single headline I saw. So I thought that was something that was interesting. I mean, another thing is interesting is, this guy really could have done whatever he wanted. He could have made his own shoe brand if he wanted to. He could have had his own label. Do you think this was the right decision of joining the Jordan brand, or do you think he should have maybe went a different route of maybe developing his own, or possibly going maybe the Kawhi Leonard route of going to a brand that's lesser known for basketball and kind of making that his own? Do you think this is the right decision? I feel like he's a bit of a follower with this.
Well, stuff works for a reason. Going off and making your own shoe doesn't seem to be working. Oh no, he's a follower. Well, he's getting paid the richest rookie shoe deal of all time. So he's leading the way there. Thought it was just a little interesting. There's always the Michael Jordan played for UNC. Zion went to Duke, so a little bit of that rivalry, and he went there. But money's money. He's getting paid over $10 million a year to wear this attire. I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he's gonna be fine either way. I just thought it was interesting. He had to make a decision. I'm not entirely shocked by all this. I just think I am, and as well as a lot of other people are kind of putting Zion on this pedestal of, hey, there's only so many of these people ever. You only get so many of these players that are capable of this sort of draw. So he can, I mean, like I said, he could do whatever he wanted. I kind of wish he was a little bit more ambitious with it, but that can happen down the road as well. It doesn't have to happen right now. How long is this deal for? Is he locked in?
5 years.
5 years? Yeah, I mean that can work. That can work. Would you like to see him have his own brand? Like, what do you think the Zion logo would be?
Why? Why reinvent the wheel? There's sneaker companies that exist. That's what they're there for. It just seems to come up with your own thing. Like, I'm sure he's gonna have his own Zion brand, the same way all these top guys have their own brand. Like Kawhi has the like the hat and it's got the certain logo, and I just think that you're really overthinking it to just not use what's in place.
I think LeBron and Kobe, if they could go back and do it over again, that's what they would have done.
But you're a basketball player, and I get that you are going to become more famous, and if you're more successful, you're going to make more money. But as of like when you're young, I think trying to build a business while you're also trying to play basketball, it's super hard. I just on the logistics. I'm sure you can try to surround yourself with the right people, but you got to set up a factory. All right. Well, do you know how to set up a factory? Like, yes, it's definitely doable, but you got to get to the right people, and it costs a lot of money.
I bet.
And yes, you're making millions of dollars, but to set up a factory can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And if and while you're, like I said, while you're trying to focus on playing basketball and making sure that that doesn't slip. So I think that that's kind of why you go with, hey, Nike's already got the factories. You can work with the marketers, and you can work with the designers to figure out, hey, this is the shoe I want. This is the angle I want to go with. But I think trying to do your own thing from the ground up right off the bat is super hard, and it's why I think LeBron's kind of getting more of his logo and his kind of brand off of Nike, is similar to the Jordan brand, but still it's connected to Nike.
Yeah, I think I think someone should break that connection and do it all over again. I think he's the guy that could do it. He doesn't have to do it. I'm sure someone in X amount of years will come along and maybe they will do it. I just, for me, it seems like a can't fail thing. Like he's too big for this to not work. He's gonna have way too much of a following for it not to work. He's gonna have way too much support from everybody. Like he's gonna be the most talked about player for the next 10 years.
Uh, you and I are both not huge buy player shoes, but would you have any interest in buying his shoes specifically?
Well, are they going to be extra support endorsed? Like, are they Zion proof? Because
I don't know. I don't know if they'll go that direction or not, just because Zion is just enormous, and so for him, like it all makes sense. And yet, for his personal shoes, and maybe it needs a little extra. But I'm not sure marketing it that way if that works, because all of us are, a majority of us are just regular sized guys, and I don't know if they want to really be hyping up like, oh yeah, you this will withstand a tank. Like, well, I just kind of need. I'm looking for light basketball shoes. So are they light? Or they feel good? And obviously the design's gonna be a huge part of it. But I'm just interested to hear your thoughts there.
that's definitely interesting. It's because Zion proofing a shoe, I imagine, makes it a little bit heavier, a little bit more bulkier. But if you're a Zion-sized human being, that doesn't affect you at all. You're significantly stronger, I'd say, than the average player. Much, much more stronger than an amateur player. So that you obviously wouldn't need.
What is that? It's him, Gronk, Aaron Judge, like, and LeBron. Like those are the only people that size in the world.
Yeah, so you're right. I don't really see a reason for it. I still think that's an advertising route I would go. I don't know if I would actually make the sneaker any different. None of us are gonna know the difference. It will be interesting. All right, do you think Zion ever blows out of a shoe again? Like, do you think that's the last time we'll ever see that?
Definitely,
You
100%.
think? You think? You don't think that ever happens again? There's not one other time in the future where
I'm just thinking before the Zion blowout, it was it Tony Parker or Manu Ginobili blew out his sneaker, but besides that, I've never seen it before.
Well, I've never really seen a player like Zion before. I'm gonna say this right now. I don't. I think
if
it
it hasn't
happens
happened
again.
to LeBron, I don't think that it's gonna happen to Zion or Blake Griffin. Zion's not the first super big explosive guy.
I think
the most recent one, and it looks like he could maybe take it to another level. But these other guys have been playing for a while, and it's not like it's happened once or twice to them. It never happened.
All right. I'll take the over on that though. I'll say within the next 5 years, Zion blows out of at least one more pair of shoes, and the media will go crazy over it. The Jordan brand will have to. I almost want to say that it'll be strategic though when it happens. You'll be like, oh, but Zion's coming out with a new shoe next month. So he doesn't have to blow out of these old ones that we've been giving him. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Seems like a real risky marketing move.
Nope, that's gonna happen. That's totally happening. Definitely taking the over on that. Actually, you know what? Speaking of the next phase, Comic-Con was last weekend here in San Diego, and they announced the new Marvel MCU Phase 4, they're calling, and basically announced a whole lineup of a bunch of movies coming out in the future. A lot of characters that have been part of the kind of the previous Avengers run, I'll say, are getting their own movies. We got a Black Widow movie coming. Looks like there's, I think, a Loki movie coming. Another Doctor Strange, as well as Black Panther 2. I'm kind of fascinated by all this. Does it seem a little backwards, though, to get some of these characters, their origin story, after we already seen so many movies with them? Like, are you still fascinated to see these movies? Like, do you want to see the behind the scenes of a Black Widow? Or
The Black Widow one seemed the most odd. Uh, Seemed like she could have got a movie earlier, but spoiler alert, she doesn't make it in the in Endgame. So it
Yep.
seems weird to go back and do an origin story for her now. I mean, it is comic books. It just because you see someone die very much does not mean that it's over. Can easily come back. So interested to see how they go through with that. I think they're just trying to spread it out, and the quote main Marvel universe guys weren't necessarily the most popular ones from the comics, but when you make good TV and you make good movies, it works. So I'm until they start disappointing, and they haven't disappointed yet, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think it's a good idea. It is a little backwards though, but maybe backwards is what this franchise needed a little bit. All right, let's change it up a touch. Like when I just saw, did you see the new Spider-Man yet? Have you seen that, the second
No, I
Spider-Man?
haven't seen it yet.
Strongly recommend it to everybody. But that's the first. I think that's the first start of what they're calling Phase 4 right now, where this is post Endgame and a post of a whole bunch of stuff that's happened. It's almost like it's hit reset now, to a certain point. Um, and I really liked the movie. It was refreshing to kind of just let this movie be this movie without having so many entangled endeavors with every other franchise out there. Like all the connections and all that is really fun, but this was just a Spider-Man movie about Spider-Man, and I really thought that was cool. So if a lot of these movies can kind of be along that same line, I think I'm going to be into it. As well as I'm kind of in for any way I can see some more Loki. So Loki getting his own movie, I'm all for that. I imagine he'll have some sort of
He's
part in.
getting a TV show, not a movie. TV
Even
show. It's
doesn't
gonna
matter.
be on
Doesn't matter. I'm in.
Disney Plus.
I'm in on it. I think that's gonna. I like his character a lot. I imagine he'll have a role in the new Thor as well, whether it's flashbacks or what. I don't really know what's going on with him. And then there's also supposed to be a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3 coming as well, which I believe should feature Thor. At least that's kind of the spoiler alert of the last movie here, that those guys are looking like they're sticking together, which I think that'll be awesome. I would love to see a Guardians of the Galaxy with a good Thor kind of role involved in that whole thing. I think that'll be fun. So I'm excited for it. Like you said, it doesn't look like DC's going to be able to compete with anything here as long as they can keep up the quality. I think all these movies can easily shine on their own. It'll be interesting to see if they're all as intertwined as much, or if these are just kind of like back to the regular themed movies. Like, they have certain crossovers here and there, but I don't know if we're ever going to get quite the mapped out movie schedule we got with the last 10 or 12 from Iron Man to Endgame.
I think we for sure are.
You think these are all still going to be intertwined like that?
Endgame is the if I'm pretty sure is the highest grossing movie of all time. The formula works, and even if it doesn't set the record, it's still making a bunch of money. And just if a play works, you keep running it until it doesn't work anymore. So I don't know to exactly what extent they'll be intertwined, but I think that there will definitely be a continual world building, a continual overlap of, oh, hey, I remember this guy from that other movie, and oh, this guy's from that show, and I'll be interested to see with the Disney Plus. It just seems like one thing to have a movie standalone, everybody can go to the movies, but then to have the shows, and especially to have them on this new service, that how quickly do people make the jump over? Does that kind of hold back anything? I know when they did the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on TV, it's like, yep, this is the same universe. And technically it is, but there wasn't a ton of overlap. You can kind of watch them independently and you wouldn't miss anything. So I'm wondering if the TV shows if they'll more force you to watch the TV shows a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. The one thing that I did see, that it doesn't look like any of these movies are going to be true Avenger movies. So we're probably not getting an Avenger movie till at least 2022 at the earliest. I don't see a real need to rush that, but how long do you think before we get another Avenger movie where everybody's kind of part of it? Whether it's the new kind of cast of this kind of era, with maybe some cameos of some of the old guys that are still around and still well involved. How long before you think we get one of these again?
it seems like it's gonna be a while because they came out with the kind of the rough schedule, like you said, of Phase 4, and they didn't mention any of those. So if it's just a schedule, I mean, they haven't even started production or anything. It's got to be 5 years out at least.
I think that's good. I think that's good. Even if they came out with a trailer today that said in 5 years we'll do one more, or Thanos comes back, or some other Thanos equivalent guy comes back. I'm all
Super villain, yeah.
yeah. So I'm all for it. I'm good for the break right now. I like the reboot of a lot of these. I like that we're changing it up a touch, and they do a good job with everything anyway. So I'm excited for Phase 4. I think what is it, Black Widow? I think it's coming out 6 months from now. I think that's the first one after this. I don't know. I got to look at some of the release dates. I think that's the first one coming out at the beginning of next year. I think it's spring next year. Any chance to see Scarlet Joe, right?
Never mad about that. As well as Natalie Portman gonna be the new Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not disappointed to see her. I haven't seen her in a while though. I feel like Scarlet Joe, she managed to stay in my life a little bit more regularly. What has she been doing? Is there something I should have been paying attention to in this past couple years?
Yeah, just just general paying attention. I couldn't tell you exactly what.
Oh man, speaking of
very talented.
Speaking of paying attention, a Chiefs fan. I want to talk about this. We're gonna have our little Homer moment right now. You want some football talk? Let's talk about this. This Chiefs fan who was pointing the laser during what is it, the conference championship, right? Something like that. When do we play the Chiefs? So the laser pointer pointed at Brady. You could see it on TV. I think both of us talked about it, not only probably live, but as well as on the podcast following. Has been caught and fined and banned, I believe, from all games. But the fine was $500. Now, I'm not trying to make $500 not sound like a lot of money. If someone gave me $500 right now, I would be ecstatic. I would certainly appreciate that sum of money. But if somebody wanted to prevent me from doing something like this ever again, man, I'd pay $500 to shine a laser in someone's eyes at a big game. No, does that not, like, what if it works? Does that not sound worth it to a certain degray? What do you got?
It doesn't seem like a deterrent. It doesn't seem like enough money to be a deterrent. Like you said, it's got to cost more for the streakers on the field when they do that and they get arrested. So I think this is just gonna maybe not encourage, but make people think, what's the worst that happens if they catch me, and all this happens? Yeah, $500. Yeah, okay. I can save up for that and maybe help my team make it to the Super Bowl. No, $500 is not enough.
Yeah, no, not even. I don't know what the. All right, what would be the right number? Because I have a hard time doing this all the time, especially if you don't have another thing to base it on. But I just
add another zero.
I think so. I mean, right? It should be, the fine should be.
It should be more because he did it to Brady too.
All right.
He's getting a little older now. His eyes, gotta be careful.
I think the fine should be at minimum the price of the most expensive seat in the house. So whatever that price is, it should be at least that, if not more than that.
I think you're talking probably about hundreds of thousands of dollars now.
All right. Yeah, let's have it that. Is that too much?
No, there's no amount of money that's too much. I'm sticking with this.
All right, fine. There's no amount of money. But anyways, shout out to that jerk. At least they got him. I don't entirely agree with it, but justice has been served to a certain degree. Whether it's been served to the degree we wanted, I don't know. But at least this guy won't be able to do it next year. So that and people shouldn't do that anyways. I don't know why who has interest in doing that. Like, you really want to beat us cheating? I don't know. Speaking of beating people and setting the records, did you see this story about this 96-year-old that set the record for the 5K for his respective age group?
No.
Ran the 5K in 42 minutes and 30 seconds. And I don't really want to talk about the whole feat of it. I just like his quote. He says, "I don't consider myself that much of an inspiration. I'm a slow runner, but I guess I've outlasted almost everybody. it gets easier to win when there's not as much competition out there. So
Not
shout out.
wrong.
You know what? I
That's
wonder if
pretty humble.
I wonder if this guy's been finishing second to like his whole life and has just continued to go thinking like one of these days I'll just outlast everybody and then I'll be number one. Or do you think he's just kind of been a dominant runner for his whole life?
I'm thinking that he's not dominant, just because it just seems like if you're into athletics, just by the time you get older, you're just all banged up, and so you're almost better off for it to last till you're, what was he, 96?
96.
Yeah, to last till that, it's like you don't want to have that pounding over and over again on the on the ground with your feet, and just if you pick it up later, it might be a little longer.
Well, shout out to anybody that can finish a 5K over the age of 70. All right, that this guy's 96 and running 5Ks and setting records here. I wish they gave more information about his respective age group. That's the only thing they say. I mean, what do you think is like? What's the ballpark of that? Like, if you race against a 70-year-old, are you gonna be upset?
I bet he's pretty competitive. If you're out there training, and especially, you said the record, it was a record, or that he won with 45 minutes.
Set a new 5K world record. World record.
Okay, so that means, even if you're pretty fast, it means to do the 5K, you got to run for an hour. Like, as you're getting older, this training just takes longer. It's more of a time commitment.
It slowly becomes a marathon training, even though it's only a 5K.
Kinda. That's kind of what it seems like, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I get it. I just like the idea of a guy outlasting everyone else. I think that's fantastic.
I just like how I like the humble, and just like, well, yeah, maybe next year there'll be less people.
All right. Well, his name is Roy Englert. So shout out to Roy Englert and keep on keeping on, man. I'm sure you could tell us some stories. His time's not terrible either. 42. I'd say an average 5K, respectively for a normal average person would be somewhere between 20 to 25. 42 at the age of 96. That sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me.
I can't think of the last time that I ran 5K.
I suppose that just finishing may just be the goal. I don't care what time
Probably.
it is. And if I'm 96 and I can finish a 5K, I'll take that. You know what? All right, let's. Is it game show time? Are you? Do we have a game show? Do we have that?
I am ready.
You're ready. All right, so
I'm ready.
We're gonna do our best here, and apologize if things just get a little sloppy here, but we have a game show. It's called Zach Sets the Record Straight. We have some music being queued up, ready to play right now. And so the way the game works, it's called Zach Sets the Record Straight. He's going to tell me 3 Guinness World Records. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is false. The point of the game is for me to try and figure out which is which, and hopefully not make a fool of myself in between. Also,
actually, that last part's not true. I am hoping he makes a fool of himself, and I think you listeners do as well.
Anyway, Zach Sets the Record Straight. What do you got for us today?
All right, Will. Number 1. The headline is, female singer hits low note to break world record.
Female singer.
So we got a woman, female singer, low note. All right. Number 2. Over 200 tubers form a line in Canada to break record. Canadian lake. Okay? 200 tubers. That's number 2.
Wait, 200 what?
200 tubers.
Tubers.
Like inner tubes.
Okay,
you would take down a lazy river.
Okay.
And number 3. 3,800 dribble basketballs simultaneously in Philippines for the record.
By multiple people?
So we have, what's that?
That's by multiple people? Or by one person?
Yes. Yep. Nope. That's 3,800 people each dribbling a basketball at the same time. So you have
all right,
female singer.
with the low note.
You got the 200 tubers form a line in a Canadian lake, and you have the 3,800 people dribbling a basketball simultaneously in the Philippines. 2 of these are true. 1 of these is not true.
All right, I immediately my first guess right off the bat was the singer, because the low note just seems strange, but I don't know. It sounds kind of weird that a female singer would be bragging and setting a record about a low note, versus the other things just seem a little bit more ridiculous. But the other one seems like the real trick question. You know, the tube thing. The tube thing I can see totally happening. Like that's a plausible that's a plausible thing. They used to have like a loophole out here in San Diego. So when you were out allowed to drink on the beach like years ago, they got rid of that rule. So you couldn't drink on the beach, but there was a loophole where you could drink if you were on the water. So like every 4th of July, everybody would just have their tubes out and they'd go hang out on the beach in the bay, and they couldn't say anything because technically you weren't drinking on the beach, you were drinking on the water.
You were in the water.
So that I just think like those sort of things could be organized, and the fact this was like Tubetopia. Like this was crazy. Like they would just Floatopia.
Tubetopia.
Floatopia or something like that. They called it that. I don't remember what it was. It was before my time in San Diego here, but the fact that that's already kind of been organized and I have that in my mind, I'm not really impressed by the tube thing. That sounds like that's an actual record. And then what was the last one? The last one was the dribbling all at the same time. That sounds plausible too. Do people in the Philippines care about basketball that much? Like that's my only thing, is that you could find that amount of people to participate in this. Oh man, is that more or less likely than the low note by the female singer? All right, I'll go with that. I'll say the Philippines one is not true.
That is correct.
Boom, winner. Applause sound.
So you lost last week. You won this week. So 50-50. Awesome. You're getting a little smarter. You know, you're getting a little better off of me reading it, and just your deduction was correct. So, little backstory. 3,800 people did dribble basketball simultaneously in the Philippines, but that was not even close to breaking the record. The record is 7,556 people dribbling at the same time, which happened in Gaza in 2010.
Oh, Zach sets the record straight. We'll be doing these every week. I think that was fun. You know, I promised you I wouldn't make a fool of myself in all this, and yet all of my reasoning, despite getting it right, kind of made a fool of myself. Like I was like, oh no, the real reason they couldn't do this is that. The actual reason is that wasn't even close to the actual record. I didn't even think of that. That would have been way smarter. But well done, Zach. I don't know where you're getting all these from.
I thought I was gonna get you with the 200 tubers form a line in the Canadian lake, because 200 just seems too low.
Yeah,
I figured you would have hopped on that and been like, oh, it's got to be at least 500 people, and I thought that was gonna get you. The female singer hits a low note. That was just tossed in. There's not a ton to really go with there. That was just a like kind of like a neutral one. I figured it'd be between the tubes and the basketball dribbling, and thought it might distract you with the basketball.
Anyways, that was this week. Zach sets the record straight. We'll be playing this game show more or less every Wednesday. I think we can do that. It's really up to Zach. It's whatever you can come up with.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll have that again next week. Hopefully you guys are participating as you go along. So if you're listening with some people or some friends and family, feel free to play along and make sure you comment and let us know what you thought the answers were. No cheating.
Fun drinking game.
Tell us in live time. And you can tell us at our website, lcalcb.com, as well as you can tell Zach personally on his Twitter, which is
WickedZman24.
So tweet him and check out the website, as well as check out all the other streaming platforms that we are on. We're on iTunes, or iTunes even exists, whatever, Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify. We're on all of those, and I think you can comment on some of those. If not, go check out the website, check out our bios, learn a little bit more about Zach and I, and listen to some of the old podcasts. Anyways, that was fun. Well, I don't know how you're coming up with all these, but I think there's just an endless amount of silly records that we could always play around with.
An endless amount.
Endless amount here.
We'll never run out.
Never run out. Well, sometimes you just got to shoot your shot. And speaking of shooting your shot, let's talk about a man that went into, I'm calling this a very, very drastic circumstance, an attempt to get a date with a flight attendant. I cannot recommend this upon anybody. I don't even want to say this out loud. This just sounds like somebody's going to listen and interpret this so wrong, and that we're only going to get in trouble for talking about this. But there's no way we get in more trouble than the actual guy. So what happened to this guy? What did he do to try and get a date with a flight attendant?
He called in a bomb threat.
Yeah, as you do for a pretty face.
Yeah, you know. Don't want her to leave the country. Got to keep her in the country. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Yup, bomb threat. That'll keep her in the country. Yeah, needless to say, they found him pretty quick. Did not go his way at all. Sounds like a real creepy guy. He met actually 2 flight attendants and invited them to dinner, and they said no thank you. And then it wasn't until he couldn't find her at her hotel that he decided to do the bomb threat. So this guy was really going out of his way to try to go on a date with this girl, and did not work. Sounds like if it had worked, maybe a really good romantic comedy, but in this case, did not work.
All right.
He's facing prosecution and is going to be kept in custody pending charges of causing panic and disorder. The police traced his call.
Look,
after he made the threat, and he was arrested a day later.
There's no.
Not the smartest guy.
This isn't a smart. There's no way to play this smartly. It's just a bad. It's bad. There's no good scenario of all this. Like, what did he expect? Like, even if he gets away with this, do you think he eventually ever tells her? Like, what if this works? They go on this date and they end up having the best date. Best case scenario, all right? They get married. You know, they have kids. Like, is there at some point do you think he would ever confess and tell her, hey, by the way, none of this would ever happen. We wouldn't have any of these kids, this house, this family, this life, any of this, unless I called that bomb threat on us, like, you know, back in 2019. like, would you tell this person that?
Isn't it romantic though? Because that's how your love started.
Yes.
Romantic to her.
Nothing more romantic than a conjugal visit. That's definitely the definition of romance.
I mean, like at this point, I'm sorry. You're saying he got away with it, so this is years later. And then it comes into, this is what I did for you. You were so beautiful and you were so special to me that I committed a federal crime. Could have gone to jail, but I had to see you again. I had to just have the chance to see you again.
No, this is the Ted Mosby. This is way too much, way too soon. This is the, you're not supposed to say that L word on the first date. All right, this is way, 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 way too much. Right? You know what? You know what this is? This is this is as silly as the Good Will Hunting, the guy skipping one of the greatest Red Sox games of all time to go hang out with a girl. Like that doesn't happen. There's nobody's doing that. And if they are, it's not working. Like the wrong people are doing it.
He didn't call a bomb threat on the baseball game to stop it, so he could do both. So that seems good.
No, my biggest thing is that making the biggest gesture possible to kind of attract the attention of somebody that you don't really know and have just met. I don't think those really work. All right, tell you what,
you're in a relationship, right? You're an expert on this, right?
How do you manage to stay single? Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, man, I really got to get my act together. I'm like, I'm not thinking I got to call in a bomb threat, but woof, I really got to step my game up somewhere in the middle.
You know what?
This is funny because last week, a listener got a hold of me. He was like, "Hey, great podcast. I think you guys could really use a female producer for a little alternate perspective." And this just seems like the perfect time for that. So yeah, shout out to Sean. This came to bite me a lot quicker than I expected.
There's all right. You know what? I will put a poll. All right, I'll put a poll on the website. I'll put it on Facebook. We'll let all the listeners vote and let them decide if this is if you would find this as a romantic gesture. It will just say it's a yes or no. All right. If someone called in a bomb threat for a chance to meet with you, would you find that as a romantic gesture? If you're I guess the female in this case, it doesn't really matter who it is. If you were the significant other, an attempt here, you're just trying to be swindled here.
Here's the last
strong no. It's not gonna work.
Okay, because it's too much crazy for you.
Way too much crazy. Would it work on you if somebody did that for you?
I don't. Well, it seems like there was already an interaction to start with, and they were already out. But it just seems like a lot of attention. I don't know. Let's see what do you see? What's going on here? Maybe we take some notes.
Maybe it takes an. I don't see anything. There's nothing that can be gained out of this. It just seems like there's a no way out. Or you need a better idea than that. I agree that the attempt was in good taste. Like he was trying to do something romantic. I just don't think that was the right direction to go. The bomb threat.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like I said, he seems like real creepy. But here's the last question I got for you. Based on the story, based on our little hashing this out, how old do you think he was?
Oh man, I don't know. Um, uh, I'll say 35.
65.
Oh man, does that make it better or worse? I can't even decide. I don't know if that makes it better. I think that makes it worse. How old was the
I
flight
think it makes
attendant?
it worse.
The flight attendant.
Does not say.
I'm imagining a very young flight attendant.
Does not say. It just seems like a guy his age should just know better. And I don't know why I'm giving the 25-year-old like a little more slack of just, all right, you made a mistake, but okay, we can. You're gonna learn from this. You're gonna move past this once you get out of prison in many years.
Well, forget learning it. What if you've already
65-year-old guy? It's like, hey man, you invited these girls out. They said no. You couldn't find them at the hotel, probably because they just avoided you. Like, like, keep it moving. Keep moving. You're gonna have to find some other flight attendants, some other girls. Like, you gotta get out of here, man.
All right, I'm just
You
making.
can't call it a bomb threat.
I'm just making the argument for the sake of it, but maybe you could argue that at a certain age, say his age is 65, maybe he's lived his life, and the only thing he's got left is this. He's missing this romance and this partner, and he just thought this is what I have to do to get that one missing thing in my life, and if I don't get it, well, things have been pretty good so far. I don't really have much to look forward to after this. I'm just making it as an argument. It's kind of a silly argument. I don't really entirely agree with it. I don't even think it would. I don't think it would work with most people. But
does he know football starts in a month? They're not gonna let him watch football in prison.
Yeah. No,
it all comes back in a full circle. That's a professional move right there.
Football is around the corner. Oh man, no. I don't think the big romantic gestures are very effective. I don't think most women want that. I don't think they want the proposal at the ball game on the big billboard. I don't think they want that. I think they'd rather something a little bit more intimate, a little bit more low key, and maybe just a little bit more straightforward.
I don't think either of us are equipped to answer that for them. I think we might have to get a guest. Maybe multiple guests.
We will get multiple. We'll get. You know what? How many guests you want? Well, I can get as many guests as you want on this, and I as long as they agree with me, they can come on. Do you think it'd be easier to find somebody that
what you did there?
Do you think it'd be easier to find people that agree or disagree with me?
I think it all depends on the person, both on who the woman is and on who the significant other. Like I said, if it's a significant other doing, like you said, like a big grand gesture, that's gonna work better than some random guy, like you said, too much too soon.
Yeah, it's Ted Mosby, man. It's way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Part of it too, it's Ted Mosby. He's just the average, Joe kind of mopey kind of deal, but you get I don't know, like Aquaman, Jason Momoa out there, or Vinny Chase. They do something like that. I think it might be a little different of an outcome.
All right. You
also there?
Nope. No. That doesn't work. I'll tell you why that doesn't work, because Jason Momoa and Vinny from Entourage, they don't need to make any grand gesture. All right, they just need to say hello. It's done. It's over. That's it. All right. There's no. They are the grand gesture.
They don't have to, but I'm saying they could.
They could, but that's unnecessary. That's like
and maybe there's some split in the difference where it happens.
All right, that's like a performance enhancing drug for somebody that's already dominating the sport. All right, you don't need that. All right, they're operating on a different level. All right, they have a different skill set. The performance enhancing drugs are necessary for probably the more average Joe, the the Ted Mosbys of the world that have to date 20 people to find one. Actually, he probably dates a hell of a lot more in that show than 20.
Well, yeah, that's TV. That's a performance enhancing drug right there.
TV?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you should have led with that. Been like, hey, do you watch How I Met Your Mother? I'm not trying to be like that guy, but oh man, that's a funny story though. I don't really know. Yeah, I'll make sure the polls are up. We'll get some more perspective on all that. I do agree that a woman's perspective on this podcast would go a long way. It would also make both of us look silly rather than just me looking silly pretty regularly here. Which would be good for the show. So if somebody knows someone or has someone in mind, you have anyone in mind? You don't have to say who they are, but if you got someone in mind, feel free to let us know. You can let Zach know on his Twitter, which is
WickedZman24.
And you can check out the website, lcalcb.com. Bunch of good stuff on there. And don't be afraid to check out soldbywill.com for all your San Diego real estate needs. And music is playing now and playing way too loud. All right, fixed it. Yeah, we're going to wrap things up. We got about 4 minutes left in the show here. Anything you want to get to that we didn't get to? I feel like we touched all the topics.
Perfect. We got the perfect amount. I got one little last thing. It's a little bit of a rant. You got a little bit of time. It's not too long. There's been multiple alligator incidents in the north. In the past week, there's been one on Long Island, and there's been one on Staten Island, so right in the New York area. There's also been one in Chicago. I think the Chicago one was a pet. I'm not really sure about the other two, but there are alligators in the north, and I thought that we had a pretty fine agreement of Florida, you get the nice weather, but you have to have alligators. We're up here, we're in the north, we got snow, we got cold, that's the thing we have to deal with, but we don't have any alligators. That was the trade-off. I thought we made a very firm agreement, and now there's some alligators up here, and I don't know who to talk to about this, but I want it fixed.
Are you fearful of the alligators? You're fearful of them?
What's that?
You're fearful of the alligators?
Of course I'm fearful of alligators. They're dinosaurs.
All right, well, All right, so they found them in the sewers. Do you plan on hanging out in the sewers anytime soon? I mean, you're fine.
They found them, one was found in the swimming pool. I would like to go in the swimming pool.
All right, well, before you get in the swimming pool, I hate to add this extra step to this, already very luxurious, enjoying kind of experience of jumping into a swimming pool. You may want to look for an alligator. Is that so hard? And then if it's there, find another pool.
The other one was found where a guy was fishing.
That sounds a little bit more dangerous because generally, if you're fishing, you're trying to go to a little bit more secluded, maybe private kind of spot. I feel like a lot of fishermen have their secret spots. And if your secret spot is suddenly no longer a secret for just you, the secret is now that the alligators there. I can see that being a little spooked. I could live without that.
I see your wise guy remark of, just look in the pool before you jump in. Yes, of course. That's easy. But the alligator's not hanging out in the pool all the time. Sometimes it's just outside of the pool. Maybe it's under a table, and you're walking by, and you're going to the pool. You're not wearing shoes or anything. Bam, got your ankle. This is a real concern.
Hey,
no alligators.
Just look both ways before you cross, all right? You'll be fine.
All right.
Okay. Actually, I saw something else that was kind of funny in New York City. This is also real quick. I saw somebody found like an In-N-Out burger in like a New York subway, untouched. The nearest In-N-Out is not anywhere near New York City. It's over here by me. Like it's the other end of the country. Do you think this was placed as a troll job? Like somebody was supposed to document this, or was this a forgotten burger? How did that get there?
There's no way it's forgotten.
I was perfectly all right in the picture of it, and then maybe they're just
transport a burger 3,000 miles with that, and then forget it somewhere. This is for sure a trap.
All right.
You just bring the wrapper back, and you wrap up anything. There's probably poop inside. That's New York Subway for you.
All right. Well, don't eat your New York In-N-Out burgers. All right. Come to the West Coast and get them over here, and apparently go to the Northeast for your alligator trips. Anyways, we'll be back next week, Wednesdays at 3. Check out the website, lcalcb.com. Thanks as always for listening.
Well, little column A, little column B.